Alright, we got some good news and we got some bad news. You want to hear the good news first? Well, you got no choice. We're talking about the good news. Take a look at this. Elliotte Friedman tweeted this out at 7:30 a.m. this morning. Word is that the Chicago Blackhawks and Connor Bedard are checking in with doctors about the possibility of playing tonight versus Pittsburgh. We'll see what the day brings, but the good news is his return is close. Now, when it comes to the Connor Bedard injury update, we had heard that there was sort of a timeline that coincided with maybe a little bit further down the line than February 15th. We thought that if it was all according to plan, he may be able to return sometime towards the end of February and maybe not the middle of February, but Elliotte Friedman went out there and gave us this update, and as the day went on, things actually got a little bit better. Take a look at this meme. BNR Open Ice tweeted this out, Connor Bedard, when he saw Sidney Crosby was on Chicago's schedule on Thursday, and you have the Kevin Nash unveiling he's actually healthy meme. That is funny stuff. Classic WCW, baby. But outside of the Elliotte Friedman tweets and the memes, we had ourselves Kevin Weeks saying that there's a good chance Connor Bedard is making his return to the lineup for the Chicago Blackhawks, and then it was finally revealed by the Blackhawks themselves. Asked my boss, and they said I could share this video today. Chicago tweeted out a preview of Connor Bedard, and it's a pretty good video. It's a good hype package. It's a good reel of what exactly it is he's done this season. So Connor Bedard is officially back, ladies and gentlemen, and this comes pretty ahead of schedule, you know? Like, we already saw Bedard himself insinuating at the All-Star Skills competition and everything that he felt that he was ready to go and that he wanted to speed up the entire process of recovery, but with the Blackhawks themselves and Richardson going out there and saying that everything is sort of aligning with the regular timeline we had, the fact that just some random day on Thursday, we have ourselves news that he's actually returning, the Hawks and Bedard themselves checked in with doctors and they got the okay. That is some pretty good stuff. And of course, the fact that he's playing off against Sidney Crosby makes this gif even funnier because it's like, yeah, now that we're playing the Penguins, I want to come back. I want to come back, do it right now. Let's do the thing. Let's go. So, Connor Bedard, ladies and gentlemen, he is back. If you want to take a look at some of the numbers, go over the statistics. 33 points, 39 games played, on pace for about 57 points in a 68-game campaign because he did miss that chunk of the year. Now, the big question is a 57-point pace good enough to win the Calder this year? If you go over to the rookie race and you talk about some of the other guys that have been producing points, Connor Bedard is still number one overall when it comes to rookie points. He's tied with Brock Faber, who is a defenseman and who has been very good himself. In fact, there are two Minnesota Wild players in the top three of rookie points right now. Good for Marco Rossi, seeing him get up there too. But Connor Bedard, he's going to have to get back that lead he had in this scoring race, because I'll tell you this right here. If he ends off the season with the same amount of points as Brock Faber, Faber may very well win the Calder since he is a defenseman, and he's also got that same amount of points. So, because Faber has been so good and he has been healthier the entire season, it puts Connor Bedard in sort of a tough spot where he's going to have to start scoring the lights out to get that Calder trophy himself. Now, of course, it's Connor Bedard, of all people, so he's probably more likely able to do that than anybody else, but it is still a point that I think is worthwhile to bring up. So, Connor Bedard, ladies and gentlemen, he is returned to the Chicago Blackhawks lineup. That is the good news. Let's go over onto the bad news here, because we had ourselves Brendan Batchelor tweeting out for the Vancouver Canucks in their morning skate that Dakota Joshua was not on the ice. And Rick Dalibor went out there and replied, "You worry about a hand injury after that fight he had against Mackenzie Entwistle in Chicago." Now, if you remember the fight that Dakota Joshua had, it was at the end of the game. It was part 3 of the Gordie Howe hat trick. The Canucks got themselves It was, I think, the first Gordie Howe hat trick the Canucks have had since 2022 or 2023, sometime last year, was Tanner Pearson. So very interesting to see him actually be a part of that conversation. But Dakota Joshua with a goal and 2 assists against the Chicago Blackhawks, plus the fight. He ends up not skating in the morning, and the synopsis, or the apparent synopsis, is because of a hand injury. Rick Dalibor also tweeted this out, would not be surprised, hand injury, fight in Chicago. Then we had ourselves Kate Pedersen, who quoted some of the Rick Tocchet updates. The Canucks will be without Dakota Joshua tonight, who is being evaluated this afternoon for an upper body injury. So, UBI. That's what we got over here. They're in Vancouver, so that's why everything's sort of rounding out this afternoon. It's good that the Canucks team doctors will be on staff, just because being able to have that accessibility is important. But we also had ourselves some quotes from Rick Tocchet. He's getting evaluated as we speak. We won't have him for tonight, Tocchet said on Dakota Joshua. He also said it's a result of the fight, or he thinks it's a result of the fight, so there you go. There's that confirmation. Rick Dalibor's intel pretty accurate there. And finally, we also had ourselves another quote here. Rick Tocchet says it's going to take a pack mentality, quote-unquote, for the group without Dakota Joshua, who has been making significant contributions on the PK and on the third line, 5-on-5. Now, when it comes to the new lines, these were the game day skate morning lines. You've got Suter, Miller, Besser, so no surprise there. Höglander, Lindholm, Pettersson, very good line. You've got Mikheyev moved down to that third line with Teddy Blueger and Connor Garland. And then PDG, Oman, and Lafferty. Not to mention Hughes, Hronek, Cole, Myers, Zadorov, Juleson, Friedman, and Wu. So there you go. Nikita Zadorov had himself the suspension. He served it. He didn't play against Chicago, and then, of course, he didn't play against the Capitals. So Zadorov is back. Great to see. But for this line here, it is going to be really interesting to see how that line's going to perform 5v5, mostly because, Mikheyev has been an offensive black hole this season. The guy cannot shoot, the guy cannot make plays, but he does everything away from the puck pretty nicely. He skates hard, he's defensively minded, he can play good hockey. It's just, this line has been so good offensively with Dakota Joshua that you kind of have to start wondering, is this going to be the spark that allows Ilya Mikheyev's offensive game to finally flow? He couldn't get things done with Elias Pettersson, but Teddy Blueger and Connor Garland are a lot more of a different kind of style. Petey and the Millers and the Bessers, they really like to attack the net in the middle, but for Blueger and Garland, they like to do a lot of their cycling around on the perimeter. If you've noticed, the Canucks and a lot of their goals, these one-timers, these passes out in front, they result in chances that are high danger. And that's when you see the Connor Garland getting the one-timer out in front, or Dakota Joshua getting the give-and-go pass back to Garland, stuff like that. They like to really play with their passing, so that's going to be interesting to see how Mikheyev meshes, especially since he is fast. But when it comes to that offensive touch, I mean, having Pettersson with Lindholm and Höglander, I like that a lot. Pius Suter, honestly, he's been a little bit disappointing as of late, but he has had a few good stretches. He's been pretty streaky, which doesn't really help because Brock Besser is streaky as well, and he's been kind of in a down slump the past little while. But either way, this is the apparent setup of lines for tonight's game against the Red Wings. We'll see what exactly this third line is able to do. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Connor Bedard coming back for Chicago, as well as Dakota Joshua leaving for Vancouver. Thoughts in the comment section. How do you feel about this if you're a Hawks or a Canucks fan? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.